it's so much better if everyone was like you. Our sport would be so flourishing, you know.
Kita lihat dari cabang olahraga lain, olahraga ini nggak terbatas pada umur. With 3 friends from Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, we create the World Cup Southeast Asia. The course designer is architect of the game. When I make the course, I created the music. People said, "Woo, wow!" And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
the
You're
one
like the
always
composer.
excellent, respect, and friendship." These three is the key of the sport. Jadi dunia ini akan jauh lebih baik kalau kita mengenal olahraga
values,
dengan value yang benar. Kalau bisa equestrian ini maju, it's not for me, it's for young generation, for Indonesia. Artaesa ada untuk kita semua.
Hi everyone, Saskia here. Welcome back to another episode of Equine Talks, a channel dedicated to all kinds of things about horses because every horse matters. Karena setiap kuda itu berarti. And in today's episode, we're joined by one of the most influential figures in the world of equestrian sport in Indonesia, Pak Rafiq Radinal. He's an FEI Level 3 course designer, an FEI Level 2 jumping steward, the owner of Artayasa Stables and Country Club, and also the president of the National Olympic Academy. On the side, he's also the Secretary General of the Pencaksilat Asia and also Secretary General of the MMA Pertachani. Obviously, Pak Rafiq has been involved in the equestrian industry in Indonesia and around Asia for decades. He organizes a lot of top-level competitions. He's passionate about developing athletes and horses to compete internationally, and he's committed to the sustainability and regeneration within Indonesia's equestrian community. Not just short-term achievements, but also long-term, down the long run. Welcome to our channel, Pak Rafiq.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome.
It's an honor to have you here. And I mean, I guess today in today's episode, we'd like to talk a little bit about your history, about your contribution to the sport, which is like so inspiring, even for me as well. About horses in general. We'll just probably just talk a little bit about yourself, Pak. Maybe we can say, discuss about your history, your stable maybe, which I presume is what you're well known for, Artayasa Stables, yeah?
Yes.
I remember going there to Artayasa when I was 6 years old. I used to ride a little bit in Trijaya, pony ride dulu sih, kayak watching Bularas teach. Tapi because Trijaya is nearby Artayasa, right?
Yeah,
it's not too
exactly.
far. So my parents would take me there and then we'd go see the horses or dulu. That was probably like 25 years ago. All the athlete training. I also saw you. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so cool. But I was very young back then. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the history of Artayasa. Like, when did you start Artayasa?
Thank you. And actually, we started Artayasa since 1992, end of 1992, 93. Everything start. And then the name of Artayasa is taken from the horse that I always used to be leased from Pamulang. Because I was a teenager, I was riding in Pamulang Equestrian. And then after I come back from America, then I bought one horse from Ibu Suarjono. The name of Artayasa, I take it from this horse. After that, piece by piece, I got the land in this Artayasa.
Wow.
And then certain people join us. And actually, it's not meant to be the club.
Yeah.
Only friends coming, and then all of a sudden bigger and bigger.
I see.
And by 1993, 94, somebody from Thailand come to Indonesia, and this guy was training with the Hans Horn, Dutch Olympic trainer. And he invited me to come to Holland, and then I came to Hans, and in the end I ended up purchase some horses, a few horses from Hans, and few horses from Germany.
Wow.
Then I mentioned to Hans how I can do it because the horse is warm blood. At that time, it's not so many people using warm blood because more on the crossbreed.
Yes, that's right.
And then Hans said, "You take one of the trainer," and then this trainer, Eric Nabring, was in Indonesia for 3 years. And then after that, we carry on, and then we have competition here and there until we mentioned how we going to do the World Cup Southeast Asia because there's no World Cup Southeast Asia. and with 3 friends from Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, we create the World Cup Southeast Asia, and we invite resident of the
Wow.
FEI
Wow.
and Max Aban as the president of the World Cup, Secretary General,
That's
Hubert
insane.
Quiz, everything coming, and then we explain, we do it. They tested us
Yeah.
how to jump, and after that we create the Southeast Asia World Cup.
Wow.
And
This is
then
in what year?
96, 97.
Wow, it's only 3 years since you opened.
Unfortunately, yes, because I think I got lucky because I got contact with the right person in Holland.
Yeah.
Dutch Olympic trainer Hans Hon later on become the Italian Olympic trainer, become Swedish Olympic trainer. So
Wow.
I got the good contact at that
Yeah.
time. So
Very
they
lucky.
support me in the good way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in Malaysia, Singapore, Malaysia at that time and Singapore quite active. So we create this one, and then we even send our horses to Thailand,
Wow.
to Singapore,
From
to
Jakarta?
Malaysia from Jakarta, we using the landing ship tank.
Wow.
And we traveling around that one to create the World Cup.
That's
so
amazing.
that's how the World Cup start. And then for Artayasa, we then starting with the group of people coming, friends coming, and bigger. And then we create, in the end, become the club. But this is how it start.
That's an insane hit. I don't think a lot of people know that. I didn't know that. That's amazing. That was like, this is all doing it in the 1997, so that's already what?
It's
30
totally
years.
crazy at that time because
30 years ago.
we send Trijaya also send the horses.
Oh.
He have the truck. Remember last time?
Yeah.
Trijaya one truck. We have the 2 trailer, and then we sending all the car and everything.
That's
we
insane.
driving from Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, Thailand.
Wow. That's amazing. That's so inspiring. Wow, everyone was very gung ho.
That's why now within us for Southeast Asia we are very close with them. It's easy to arrange event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So basically dengan apa ya? Dengan sejarah ini ya, that's very
Yeah.
very so inspiring that long time ago people niat banget to do
Oh yeah, it's
competitions
total
abroad.
crazy. Total crazy.
Itu keren. Yeah, itu unheard of kok sekarang ya. Kalau orang kan sekarang hanya
Now we have to
lokal-lokal.
create like we just mentioned actually earlier, the equine disease free zone.
Yeah.
We did how our horses can go between certain countries.
Iya benar.
In the past time we can do it, why not now?
Iya.
We did it last time.
Yeah.
So we did it in 97, we did it in the Asian Games.
Yeah.
Now we have to do it again because if we
Yeah.
want a free and horse matter,
Yeah.
this is how we compete with others.
Yeah.
Don't compete only inside.
Benar. So artinya the early team of Artayasa itu siapa aja Pak? Other than yourself?
Wow, in the beginning, Roy Ibrahim,
Oh ada Pak Roy.
Indra Rosendi,
Oh, wow,
also
Indra Rosendi.
Budi Tulodo.
Wow.
That's the previous one, and who else at that time is also Laksmono, also
Pak
in
Mono.
Pak Mono,
Is he
also in Artayasa
wow.
before. So this,
the original?
that's why when we compete, waktu kita tanding di Malaysia, Singapura, kita compete selalu dengan about 4-5 rider with the horses, and you can imagine in Malaysia when we mostly kita menang ya, jadi
Yeah.
mostly Indonesian people is like crazy to watch the equestrian in Malaysia.
Oh, karena
Yeah,
karena good team ya.
Yeah, this is teamwork.
Solid team sih.
Teamwork we do.
Wow, itu very very amazing ya. And then kalau misalnya artinya competition keliling kayak gitu, the horse owners yang support atau?
Basically Trijaya support, they arrange everything, and Artayasa arrange everything. So 2 clubs, this one got support from our members. So we're creating not only the horses from Artayasa, but at that time also family from Salway support. They have 2 horses, 1 horses, and then there is one Japanese member from us also doing
Japanese
support this one.
That's so dulu kayaknya lebih the equestrian community sangat very close knit.
Maybe because they close and then they all direct in charge in the horse. They in charge in the equestrian. Hands-on.
Iya,
So when you talk in same language. Jadi kalau kita ngomong, kita mau ke sana, what is the goals, how, then easy to discuss on this one.
Yeah, because the horse owners are very
Yeah.
hands-on banget ya. That's really really cool. Mungkin karena kan going on to about Artayasa ya. Artayasa kan that's the competitions you started, and now you're a very famous venue in Indonesia for a lot of competitions ya. You already host in local competition, international competitions. What are some, mungkin bisa ngobrol sedikit tentang your challenges and about making this all happen gitu?
I think after maybe how many years? Is almost
30 years.
30 years. Setelah 30 tahun ini kelihatannya people start like they know the sport.
Yeah.
They know the sport, they know the warm blood, they know the difference between a crossbreed, thoroughbred, and also warm blood, and also a European horse. So they know the purpose. Now a lot of the stables, good one. It's not bad, it's good one.
Yeah.
But we have to fact the reality. We have to survive in between the club, which is the club is not become competitor, but this is the good for Indonesia.
Yeah.
Tapi how we can work together? So whatever they don't have, I try to fulfill in my place. So otherwise, the horse didn't understand good stable or not good stable,
Iya, benar.
good box or not good box.
Iya.
The horse need what they need. They need paddock, they need the area to walk, they need the clean environment.
Yeah,
This is how the horse need. So what I try to do is, when we have competition, we have to make sure that our venue is one of the favorite.
Yes.
I don't say the good, but favorite for
Yeah.
people to compete in my place in
Yeah.
Artayasa.
Yeah.
Because when I support this one, I'm become part of the support for Indonesian society, equestrian
Benar,
society. But I'm only part because some other club also doing the same.
Iya, benar.
So ini yang akan di antara kita bisa kerjasama. That's how I mentioned when you got promote from the FEI, I have to promote you.
Iya.
This is how we support each other, and Pordasi has to support also this one. This is how I think things together,
Yeah.
strong together. This is how to do.
That's good to note, karena kan kadang-kadang ada beberapa kandang yang mungkin suka backstep atau
Yeah,
kayak
you
put
don't need
them
to worry.
down. It's so much better if everyone was like you. Our sport would be so flourishing, Yeah, and then talking about about the impact Artayasa Stables had ke banyak riders sama trainers di Indonesia ya.
Yeah.
Karena a lot of them learn a lot from Artayasa. Kalau boleh nanya, how do you support your riders, your teams, your staff, your trainers tentang the equestrian knowledge?
It's a long journey ya.
Yeah.
Kita dari sekarang Roy itu ada di Singapura,
Yeah.
jadi coach di sana. Istrinya juga Titin, officialnya dari Artayasa, dia official di FEI sekarang dan dia sekarang sana. Beberapa official di Indonesia juga memang awalnya dari Artayasa.
Iya.
Jadi ini satu komunitas yang equestrian ini in my blood. So I have to how we can support. We cannot support on the athlete, we cannot support on the horses, but we need to support official.
Yeah.
We need to support the vet.
Iya.
How the vet
In
can be the bigger society because the horse need the vet.
Iya,
The horse
benar.
don't need us. We take care, we feed
Benar,
the horse,
benar.
but the vet, the farrier. I have a good story about the what of farrier. Zaman dulu waktu saya di Pamulang, there's no horseshoes.
Oh ya?
There's only one bar still long, and they cut it and they make the horseshoe. This is back in 79 probably. That's 76, 79. I was kid, and then there's one farrier they call me Ece. Ece Dael Falahuddin. Dia waktu saya tanding waktu World Cup saya ke Malaysia, Singapura, Thailand,
Yeah.
dia saya ajak.
Oke.
Dan dia ketemu one farrier dari Bermuda. Terus diajarin semuanya sampai become a good farrier. He's a master farrier from Indonesia, one of the best.
Wow.
Dia sampai diundang ke Singapura untuk napel beberapa horses.
Wow.
At that season, his favorite in Singapore. He's packed. One he trip to Singapore, he can get about one day 6-7 horses
Wow.
in Singapore, and then he always get the for free day. And Artayasa is the one who recommend him because they need the support. Otherwise, he cannot go to Singapore, right? So we communicate with Singapore, and Singapore need the farrier. We supply farrier to them.
Wow.
And now, of course, Ece also creating the new farrier, also educate the new farrier. Now, Budi Tolodo coming from America, graduate from the master farrier in America.
Yeah.
So this is how we support each other to complete all what the needs of equestrian.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, aku juga pernah dengar you also help like a lot of the younger riders tentang course design, because you're a course designer, right?
Yeah.
Like, what makes you want to support all these people? Like, it's from your own resources. Is that right? Dari
Yeah,
resources sendiri?
I learned from Olaf Peterson. He is the 2 times Olympic course designer.
Yeah.
He's my teacher. And I see how he teach us, especially in 2011.
Yeah.
We are totally underdog.
Yeah.
We compete from nowhere, and our team got gold medal.
Yeah,
This is how 1 year we have about 14 event, and then he come in several times. But I see how the course designer can teach the rider from nowhere to somewhere, because they can teach how the longer stride, broken line, short stride, everything. Everything you test it on the horses.
Yeah.
The course designer is architect of the game. I don't say I'm the best, but when I make the course, you can see I created the music.
Yeah.
People said, "Woo, wow," and I was like, "Oh, this is you don't feel it, but this is the
You're
one
like the
always
composer.
this is how we can say it, like this is the best, because when they coming out of the arena, even though they made mistake, dia bakal bilang, iya, aku harusnya begini. But he know exactly I made mistake, or he can pass. He said like, yes, I did it.
Yeah.
Jendri Palandeng with a total time of 82 points.
So this is how the course designer and the rider and the horses communicate, and the spectator basically watching the show. This is how to do.
That's amazing. Yes, sih, kalau misalnya if you think about it, the course designer is almost like a composer for the competition, karena all the sound is made from people's excitement, the riders yang naikin the course. It's very what your design yang bikin what makes it exciting lah. Yeah. In the course ya. So maybe going on to that, mungkin kita bisa ngobrol sedikit tentang karir Pak Rafiq from the start. Like kan tadi we talked a little bit about Ataya Stables and how much support you guys have given to the equestrian industry di Indonesia. Mungkin Pak Rafiq mau ceritain sedikit nggak tentang your journey untuk menjadi course designer? Like why did you choose to become a course designer? Like out of all the roles ya?
Basically karena dari kecil saya memang sudah naik kuda. Kemudian mostly at that time my parents is the government officer. Cannot pay so much. I only can rent and I joined one of my auntie family, because you have to be family member to buy the membership. Yeah, in Pamulang.
In Pamulang.
In Pamulang. So Bu Suwarjono teach me a lot. She's like my mother.
Oh, wow.
Bu Suwarjono is very close to me, and then dari situ saya kuda yang namanya Artayasa yang selalu saya sewa dibeli sama Kapolri Pak Anton Sujarwo. So Pak Anton Sujarwo invite me to ride in his place, and after that I took school in architecture. I cannot even ride; it's so packed the study. Then I went to America. When I'm back to America, I just buy one horse and start again for this one. Dari start saya ketemu Hans Horn, saya ikut show jumping, and then until I also jump until Asian Game in Thailand, Saraburi at the time. Kemudian dari situ melihat chances untuk bantu Indonesia, karena waktu saya tanding semua di sana. Kebetulan waktu itu kita berpikir kalau kita terus-terus di luar negeri, Indonesia akan ketinggalan. Karena kita nggak bisa bangun negara kita sendiri. Karena akhirnya kita saat itu, karena saya lebih banyak, saya taruh kuda di Thailand sama di Malaysia. Cuman kesulitan, artinya kita mesti maintain kan kuda ini. Jadi akhirnya kita pikir, oke, kita pulangin kuda-kudanya semua. Tahun 2000 kita base in Indonesia. Kemudian dari situ baru kita pick up one by one and then start the course designer. Kenapa karena course designer? Karena saya pikir ini yang bisa bangun Indonesia untuk secara bersama. Karena kita nggak mungkin kalau saya panggilin course designer besok A, besok B, besok C. This course designer didn't know how much is your level, how is the level of athlete. Because jadi dia cuma ngetes kita, besok ganti lagi, besok ngetes lagi ganti lagi, besok ngetes lagi ganti lagi. Tapi kalau waktu saya setelah saya dengan Olaf 2011, sebelum 2011 itu, saya melihat Olaf gimana caranya dia ajar kita dari sini sampai level satu-satu naik. Jadi saya pikir kalau kita nggak bisa terus-terusan bayar orang dari luar, we have to do it by ourselves. So ini yang bikin saya terus harus belajar sendiri. Saya juga mengajak waktu itu pernah ada course designer untuk Indonesia. Cuman course designer ini nggak gampang. Karena apa? Sebelum orang-orang jumping, dia mesti siapin course-nya. Orang-orang belum datang, kita mesti bangun course-nya. Kalau misalnya pun orang-orang udah selesai, kita masih bangun course untuk besoknya. Hujan panas, kita tetap masih bangun. Sehingga nggak mudah ataupun nggak gampang untuk orang really willing to
Do it.
do it, and easier to become coach and train,
Iya.
bring
Riding
one
in-
athlete to
iya.
athlete. They said more money, and honestly,
Yeah.
this is the one. I think it's need the people that really like the
Course designing,
course designing.
Yeah. Ya di Indonesia not too many ya.
Not too many. Yeah.
Not too many ya. Because it's like you said, ini kayak apa ya? Emang harus go there earlier.
Yeah,
You have to be
yeah.
the one yang set up the day before. Harus plan
Yeah.
the jumps. Kalau misalnya ada orang Indonesia yang mungkin nanya, how do you become a course designer then? Kalau misalnya ada yang interested.
Kan sekarang FIA sudah buka kemarin, Mas Yudi Irianto kemarin sudah jadi level 1 di qualified di Malaysia.
Oh, that's good.
Ya
Oh, oke.
udah,
Jadi harus
ada.
ambil course
Ambil
ya.
course.
Lewat FIA.
The best if you ada di jam 140.
Yeah.
Kalau kamu pernah loncat 140, jadi kamu tahu kesulitannya. Kenapa kamu taruh sekian?
Yeah.
How is the feel?
Yeah.
Kalau kamu nggak pernah jadi rider, gimana kamu mau ngetes orang? It's impossible. Dan kamu melakukan sesuatu yang kamu nggak pernah rasakan. Jadi ini harus melewati jenjang itu, terutama di level tertentu ya.
Yeah,
Kalau di
for
level awal mungkin oke, aman, desain ini aman, desain ini aman. Tapi begitu mau ke level atas, ke World Cup, apa sih yang dia tanya, apa yang how is the
Yeah.
question?
Jadi you would recommend orang-orang yang udah
Naik
jumping,
kuda.
yang
Ya,
naik kuda long time.
Iya, dan kalau bisa pernah loncat di kelas atas.
Yeah, then that's the
That's
ideal
better.
setup ya. Okay. And then mereka bisa sign up di FEI.
Ya, of course.
FEI. Itu biasanya untuk kontak FEI itu mending go to the website atau ke
FIA
National Federation?
selalu kasih kalender officialnya, baik untuk steward, untuk veterinary, untuk apa itu ada. Harusnya dari National Federasi itu didistribusikan kepada anggotanya siapa yang mau ikut gitu.
Gitu ya.
Ya.
Jadi kalau orang interested harus kontak NF palingnya atau
Melalui NF.
Ya,
Tapi kita
melalui-
bisa langsung kontak. Ya.
Oke. Alright. So itu yang tentang course designer ya. Mungkin tadi kan aku juga ngomong Pak Raffi is the president of the National Olympic Academy.
Ya.
Itu when did you first get involved dengan the IOC atau NOC-nya di Indonesia?
Saya diawali dari waktu itu saya pegang when Asian Game saya pegang venue
Yeah.
untuk venue di beberapa cabang olahraga di National Olympic Academy, Olympic Committee. Kemudian dari situ saya pegang saat itu ada Athlete Village waktu Para Games. Itu ada 12.500 atlet yang ada di Athlete Village.
Di Jakarta?
Di Athlete Village di Kemayoran.
Oh, di Kemayoran, iya.
Itu wali kotanya saya. Berarti saya yang pegang itu gedung itu semuanya. Itu saya pegang sehingga saat itu sukses. Kemudian kita diundang untuk jadi eksekutif komite di National Olympic Committee. Saya jadi pegang ke komisi Sport Development. Di komisi Sport Development saya pegang, kemudian sama culture. Di situ kita selalu mengevaluasi atlet-atlet mana yang bertanding untuk multi games. Jadi biasanya kita bandingkan misalnya atlet martial art dengan berat salah satu martial art katakan taekwondo dengan 70 kilo. Ini musuhnya siapa yang lagi di Asia, ini siapa? Kita sudah pikirkan. Jadi termasuk sama di beberapa cabang, misalnya federasinya belum melihat atlet tersebut, kita lihat, kita kasih tahu ini mungkin yang ini punya potensi. Dari situ baru dari Olimpika kemudian seleksi ada term kedua, saya diminta untuk pegang National Olympic Academy. Di sini yang untuk gimana cara mempromosikan Olympic value, excellence, respect, friendship.
Wow.
Ini akan diajarkan kepada seluruh atlet ataupun juga sekolah-sekolah. Karena Olimpis itu bukan hanya untuk jadi juara, tapi how you become a good person in the whole world. Jadi dunia ini akan jauh lebih baik kalau kita mengenal olahraga dengan value yang benar.
Iya, benar.
Jadi
agree.
contohnya pada saat waktu di zaman ancient Greek ya, itu Olimpik itu mereka lagi perang aja mereka libur.
Iya, benar.
Perangnya libur, tanding
iya.
lagi, pulang lagi, perang lagi.
Iya, benar.
Tapi they have a break in between.
Iya.
Itu mereka bisa. Zaman
Netral.
dulu bisa. Sekarang kita masih ribut ya. Nah,
Iya.
contoh satu lagi pada saat COVID, semua orang nggak berani keluar.
Iya.
Tapi begitu kita Jepang semua oke kita jalan. Akhirnya semua orang mulai berani keluar lagi dan akhirnya normal lagi dunia ini. Sebelumnya kayak mati suri semuanya.
Benar.
This is sport itu punya natural language untuk semua orang bisa komunikasi dengan lebih baik.
I see. Yeah, that's really really good that apa ya, mereka tuh dari Olympics really want people to not just become an athlete to win, tapi
Yeah.
have good values
Yeah.
instilled in them ya. Because I think that makes the world a better place ya. So artinya you've been involved in with the KOI or National Olympic Academy how many years now? 2 tahun.
Mulainya dari 19 Asian Games.
Oh, it's already 6.
Dari
Almost
Asian
8
Games.
years ya?
Yeah.
8 tahun ya, wow. And then mungkin sebelum itu, so that means like kita recap aja the timeline-nya. So you open Artayasa in the 1992, 1993. Your club stable, you do competitions dalam 5 to 10 years after that, and then until now competitions, and then apakah Pak Rafiq pernah involved in the National Federation for Horses sebelumnya?
Saya waktu sempat waktu itu prinsip saya ketemu waktu itu Presiden FII, ketemu sama Ibu Rita Subowo, Presiden NOC.
Itu kapan?
Itu sebelum itu 2008 atau 2009 ya, di SEA Games di Manila. Kemudian ditanyakan kenapa equestrian itu ada di bawahnya salah satu cabang olahraga. Karena Olympic sport itu harusnya independen.
Yes, only 3 Olympic sport, only 3, jumping, dressage, and eventing.
Ya, cuman di bawah equestrian ini harusnya independen ya. Pada saat itu kita buat namanya Equestrian Federation of Indonesia. FI. Jadi dari situ kita sempat disitulah kita berprestasi, artinya kesempatan itu kita mempunyai peluang. Pada saat itu kita dapat beberapa anggaran, kemudian anggaran itu kita pakai gimana caranya siapa yang mau beli kuda untuk SEA Games. Karena anggaran terbatas, saya bilang uangnya itu untuk bayar pajaknya, karena pajaknya itu kan sekitar 50 jutaan.
Iya.
Waktu itu ada sekitar 8 atau 10 orang yang beli kuda, sehingga waktu kita kualifikasi, itu benar-benar kualifikasi yang benar-benar dengan kuda yang proper.
Iya, wow.
Nah dari situ kita panggil course designer Olaf, kemudian ya itulah hasilnya. Dari 6 emas kan kita dapat 4 emas.
I know, that's insane.
This is the
peak of Indonesian equestrian ya.
Nah kemudian dari situ kita prioritas. Sekarang kita mesti pick up lagi untuk ke depan lah. Insya Allah bisa.
So that means you've been involved with the National Federation since 2000.
Kalau dari sebelumnya saya memang tidak di equestrian, tapi di komisi equestrian itu saya jadi di bawah Pordasi itu selalu saya yang aktifkan ke kegiatan equestriannya, walaupun mungkin jatuhnya saat itu komisi ya sama seperti sekarang, tapi itu kita sudah jalani juga dari 94 waktu itu kita diminta untuk bikin Asian show jumping. Kemudian saya terima karena Indonesia ternyata sudah promise dari beberapa tahun sebelumnya. Di Malaysia ada General Assembly, kemudian saya bilang oke, saya jalanin 94 saya udah jalanin Asian Show Jumping.
Wow, so that means you've been involved for almost 30 years juga ya in the federation ya. So artinya history of Equestrian Federation itu selalu di bawah the Pordasi ever since dari dulu ya.
Cuman saat waktu 98 sampai 2015 kira-kira ya.
It was on its own. Set standing berdiri sendiri ya. Okay. How do you see? What do you see about the role of federation in Indonesia today? Yang the NF Equestrian, like, has it changed? Is it the same as dulu atau is it different now or?
Mungkin sekarang supportnya banyak ya untuk ke Indonesia, untuk ke equestrian juga. Memang sekarang the problem now is the game is getting higher, not only single games ataupun championship, tapi sekarang gimana multi games. Multi games ini akan bawa kita ke Olympic. How to go to route Olympic. This is how the pathway we go to Olympic. Who's will be supporting this one. Jadi dalam perjalanan 30 ataupun berapa tahun sebelum saya mungkin ada, tapi sekarang kita pikir gimana sih kita supaya bisa masuk ke Olympic? Olympic the highest sport for us. Everybody aim for Olympic.
That's right.
So where to go? So our sport is nggak bisa dibanding sama sport lainnya. Jadi kalau mau ke sana, this only way. Put 100% effort. You can do it. Without this one, not going to happen. Benar.
Yeah, because I think di dunia berkuda kan ada banyak sport ya. And I feel kayak misalnya like if you want to bawa nama Indonesia to the world you lewat Olympics kan, and Olympics is the only way because it's the highest level of sport, and through Olympic ya di dunia kuda kan only 3 sport ya, the jumping, eventing sama dressage ya.
Untuk menang impossible. Tapi untuk bisa qualified kenapa saya yakin 100%? Saya meloloskan Tony Leviste dari Filipina
Oh yeah.
pada saat Southeast Asia World Cup waktu itu
Yeah.
lewat kita punya league.
Oh really?
Dia pemenang. Kemudian dia diundang ke Gothenburg. Dari Gothenburg karena dia World Cup itu kan di April.
Yeah.
Dia punya kesempatan 4 bulan untuk berlatih. Dia ke jalan ke Ireland di sana dengan Poldara. Baru dia tanding lagi. Sehingga pada saat dia bertanding di Eropa itu hanya bertanding dengan regional kita loh, bukan dengan karena juara Asia, juara Eropa, juara itu beda Amerika. Nah, dia cuma bertanding dengan beberapa orang istilahnya. Kemudian dia qualified dari Asia.
Iya.
Nah, sehingga dia bisa tanding di waktu itu Olimpik di Sydney.
Iya.
Nah,
benar.
sekarang kalau misalnya Tony bisa, kenapa sekarang atlet kita nggak bisa untuk ke depan?
Iya, that's
Nah, ini pathway yang harus kita siapkan untuk ke depan.
So it's very important. Iya sih. Shout out to Tony. Hi Tony. I visited her I think a year and a half
Oh,
ago
yeah.
in her yard. She's very inspirational as well.
Oh ya,
So such a strong woman. Sekarang lagi masuk dressage ya.
ya. Oh, Tony crazy what?
Yeah, she's riding dressage now in Europe. It's so amazing. Tapi ya artinya ya emang kita harus mikirin ke depannya for the National Federation aja kita harus mikirin gimana we can put effort for the athlete sama horses untuk aim for Olympics ya.
Yeah, exactly.
The pathway-nya harus maybe more clear ya karena kan sekarang ada banyak riders ya di
Yeah.
Indonesia. So artinya ya misalnya maybe NF harus mikirin sedikit tentang making a pathway ya artinya
Yeah.
for riders yang dari grassroots all the way up
Yeah.
to Olympics because obviously every level is different ya from single event to multi event
Yeah.
ya. But that's something yang mungkin harus dimikirkan to make sure our sport lasts kan. Karena kan I
Yeah.
feel like sekarang di Indonesia mungkin sport kudanya sedang memplato ya.
Yeah.
Obviously we have international competitions tapi masih kurang gimana ya? I don't know maybe from the support.
Yeah, we need more event.
More events, yeah.
Then also we need to participate on the multi games.
Yeah.
And then there is a separate level ya, which is di mana yang riders compete. Yang riders kan goalnya ke Youth Olympic Games.
Iya benar.
Sedangkan yang open mungkin bisa ke Olympic. Tapi kalau sekarang ada, terutama besok ini ada Asian Youth Game.
Iya.
Ini atlet kan ada beberapa yang istilahnya sudah beli kuda dan sudah berlatih di Europe.
Iya.
Kemudian juga prestasinya cukup baik.
Iya.
Nah, sekarang ini kan kita mesti support karena dari mereka nanti ke Asian Youth ke Olympic Youth Game kita nggak tahu 22-28 memang mereka bukan pemain tapi 23-2 mungkin mereka sudah jadi senior. Kemudian mereka mungkin sudah di level yang lebih baik lagi. Gitu.
Ya, harus
Sehingga kita
dikitin.
memang mesti bikin yang mana yang youth, mana yang open, mana disiplin dressage, mana disiplin jumping, mana disiplin eventing. Dari 3 disiplin, which one you have the strongest point?
Benar. Harus
Then we have to
dimikirin sih.
concentrate on that one. We have to concentrate on certain people, certain riders, and the level. Karena dressage
Yeah.
juga kita nggak mungkin bikin satu tim yang kuat.
Iya, benar.
Memang bisa untuk level yang average, tapi pasti ada 1-2 yang menonjol. Nah, yang menonjol ini harus kita support.
Iya benar. Karena kan ya balik lagi what you said confirm itu usia rider
Yeah.
and the quality of the horse has a big
And
difference
also
kan.
age of the horse.
And the age of the horse too ya.
Yeah,
Karena
it's-
prime age-nya ya
yeah.
makes a difference on the level of
Yeah.
competition ya. So mungkin how about here's a question for you deh Pak Rafiq. What do you think about the quality of the athlete riders sekarang in Indonesia locally and yang international? Do you see any potential riders or any
Saya kemarin dampingi atlet nyoba kuda di Inggris.
Oh ya,
Itu, which is saya bawa 1-2 atlet, kemudian dari sana tadinya kita karena mau beli kuda kan,
Yeah.
kuda yang kita mau beli kan kuda kelas atas juga. Kemudian dari pertama-tama dikasih kuda yang biasa-biasa aja sampai akhirnya mereka surprise, akhirnya dikasih kuda yang one of the top, one of the good one.
Wow.
And I went to Sutter Club, it's not one. They good club. Top athlete from the UK. They amazed dengan atlet kita. We have a very good natural talent. Even though how long this rider been training?
Yeah.
With the time, they said it's very good. Terus saya juga ngomong pada saat Carlos itu dressage coach datang ke Indonesia, saat itu level 4. Waktu dia untuk seleksi yang dressage. Pada saat dia seleksi, dia bilang Indonesia have a good talent. The
Yeah.
athlete is good.
Yeah.
But you need to sharpening this one. And then they said, kemarin ada atlet sudah berangkat 6 atlet ke Jerman, ke Kasselman, kemudian di Indonesia masih ada. Terus Carlos bilang, saya mau ke Indonesia bulan November sama Desember. Saya bilang,
Oh, wow.
atlet Saya bilang atlet nggak ada, atlet pada di sana yang bagus. Dia bilang no, you have to train the other one because the other one also good. I know is the natural talent is good. So basically, we have good natural talent. The only thing is we need a good coach. We need a good coach to bring to the level higher. And this Carlos sekarang itu dia di SEA Games dia official, di Asian Games nanti dia TD-nya dressage.
Oh wow.
Which is we have to build the relation how we can go to this one.
So that means I mean I've always seen that too. Like even though I ride, but I obviously just ride for I'm a happy hacker. Tapi kayak whenever I see the riders in Indonesia competing in your competitions or the local competitions here, they are very talented. Like we get all these horses from Europe. Not all the horses from Europe are easy rides. You know, they're very very. The people here learn fast. I think when you put them on a horse, they learn fast.
They're hard also with the horse.
Tapi do you see any mungkin dengan catatannya we have talented riders, like what do you think is the potential challenge for the future then? Like we have the riders, tapi like do we lack horses? Do we lack support? Like what's the challenge then?
Kebetulan we are lucky. Our president love the horse.
True.
And then our president is really support the sport of especially. Dia sudah lama berpikir untuk gimana dalam equestrian ini bisa mencapai ke Olimpik. Jadi dengan support yang sekarang, dengan support Departemen Pertanian, dengan support Pordasi, ini sebenarnya kesempatan kita untuk lebih maju lagi. Jadi ini kalau lihat peluangnya, this is the time. You miss this time, you out. This is the time.
Critical banget ya.
Because kita live di satu kepulauan, jadi nggak mudah untuk bisa. Kalau kita udah beli kuda di sini, kuda nggak bisa keluar lagi. Where do you want to compete? But kalau sekarang kita beresin semuanya ini dengan dibantu dengan pemerintah, artinya kuda kita bisa tanding keluar lagi. Kuda orang pun bisa datang ke Indonesia, tanding pulang lagi. Tapi this is open our competition. Jadi ini yang sebenarnya nggak sedikit tugasnya, tapi there is a way, there's a chance to do it this one.
That's right. I agree. I feel like obviously in the last 10-15 years import kuda kan naik so many horses, hundreds of horses every year, which is crazy. Mana kita lihat the numbers, I think we're beating China in terms of importing horses.
More than China.
Isn't that insane? Lebih banyak loh daripada China yang masuk Indonesia. So artinya orang yang niat banyak, ada peniatnya banyak. The interest is very high. Tapi balik lagi, itu sedih aja the horses nggak bisa keluar compete. Padahal we get all these expensive horses coming in.
Dulu kita pernah melakukan artificial insemination, pernah satu kuda ya kita kirim lahir di sini dengan ini, kemudian ke pemiliknya selalu itu dibawa kembali ke UK. Dibawa ke UK itu saat itu sampai akhirnya kuda tersebut menjadi salah satu juara di kelas untuk anak pony championnya UK.
Wow.
Itu pernah kita sudah sampai ke level sana.
Gila.
Mungkin orang nggak berpikir, tapi breeding di Indonesia sekarang juga ada artificial insemination sudah dilakukan, ada apa ini. Sempat kita juga waktu itu disurvei sama zamannya Pak Jokowi melihat kudanya yang sekarang kan sudah besar-besar dan kawin di Indonesianya sudah dilakukan artificial insemination, sudah terjadi walaupun ada yang natural, ada yang inseminasi, tapi breeding ini sudah berjalan walau dengan kuda import ataupun dengan yang lahir di sini.
So itu aku nggak pernah dengar cerita itu. What year was that?
Ntar aku cek nama kudanya, aku lupa nama kudanya, tapi ntar aku kasih tahu. Itu one of the best.
Wow.
Itu.
How big was the horse?
Pony.
It's a sport pony.
Sport pony.
Tapi bred here.
Bred here.
Wow. That's
That's
amazing. Aku nggak pernah. Itu keren banget kok. Actually seharusnya bisa kayak gitu actually ya.
Nanti aku cek nama yang punya Ibu Salwe.
Itu actually artinya potential Indonesia breeding athlete horses.
Untuk poni Sumba itu pernah diekspor ke Malaysia dari Bu Suarjono itu sampai banyak karena Malaysia itu perlu poni juga. Dan dari kita ekspor juga ke sana. Cuman sekarang kalau kita ngomong kuda, one is equestrian, the other one is there is a tourism horse, which is Bromo. Kenapa nggak kita bantu dia dengan kayak zaman dikasih pejantan yang sudah kita nggak pakai atau dikawin, sehingga 5 tahun ke depan di tempat-tempat turisme juga kuda-kudanya jadi lebih baik lagi.
Benar.
Ini harusnya sudah kita pikirkan juga, karena apa? Kan ini promosi kuda kita. Kalau di daerah kudanya makin bagus, toh keuntungannya buat kita juga.
Yeah.
Karena kita riding school kan nggak perlu semua ngambil kuda Wamblat ataupun kuda dari Europe karena pajaknya udah mahal, transportnya mahal.
Yeah, benar-benar. So going on from that, like, do you think the equestrian sport in Indonesia is sustainable, or like, what are your thoughts about?
I think in the future will be sustained. It's slowly sustained.
So slowly sustainable, yeah. What does kalau boleh nanya, what does sustainability in the equestrian sport mean to you?
Kalau kita sekarang kita bisa punya kuda yang artinya nggak selalu beli dari luar.
Yeah.
Kita punya pelatih yang makin lebih baik. Kita punya atlet yang jauh lebih baik lagi.
Yeah.
Kemudian officialnya dari kegiatannya harus mungkin lebih banyak.
Yeah.
Dari kegiatan eventnya more quality. Jadi jangan bikin event yang ada event. Jadi gini, event itu terbagi juga. Ada event yang katakan internasional, ada event nasional, ada juga untuk development. Development ini jatuhnya bagusnya di klub. Jadi klub-klub ini bisa bikin kegiatan di masing-masing klub ataupun bersama beberapa klub kayak latih tanding bersama. Karena ini yang dari beginner dari sini baru pindah ke nasional, dari nasional baru ke international event. Nah, yang sulit adalah sekarang ini kalau kita bertanding hanya dengan semacam kayak pon ataupun nanggung gitu. Jadi bukan kita bilang pon itu nanggung, tapi kita bertanding sama-sama kita. Akhirnya kita lebih prioritas kepada ini grup mana itu. Sebenarnya kita mendingan langsung aja
aim for international.
Jadi aim to international.
Yeah.
Jauh lebih baik.
I feel like I agree juga, because like I mean, like, obviously aku tinggal di Inggris long time ago for school, and I lived there and worked there. Mereka tuh pathway-nya clear banget dari grassroots sampai Olympic, and the aim is always Olympics gitu. I mean, obviously ada 5-star yang kayak Burley atau Longines, tapi kan at the end of the day kan Olympic is the main goal.
Dan
tidak
perlu bersaing antara distrik ya ataupun itu. Karena akhirnya
itu nanggung ya. Iya, nanggung banget sih. Karena kan with equestrian, when you ride, I mean, like, obviously if you're jumping, dressage, eventing, seharusnya you aim up the levels so that you can.
Karena di level ini mereka akan bertanding dengan level yang lebih rendah. Padahal kita mestinya makin lama kita makin meningkatkan, go up. Karena saya juga berharap dari kelas kemarin sempat kita sudah loncat 145.
Iya.
Kemudian kita nunggu SEA Games World Cup lagi 140 145 lagi. Tapi during certain months is less event on this height.
Iya.
Sayang kan? Harusnya kan karena kita mesti konsisten, karena begitu beda 6 bulan 8 bulan kita mesti mulai lagi kan, dari mulai lagi.
Yeah, the horse condition turun, the rider juga not as good because they're not competing in the same levels.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I guess that's the PR for the NF and
not only NF,
and
together with the community.
The community, Maybe talking about a little bit tentang community. What do you think about what are your thoughts tentang the Indonesian horse community now? Like, kan kan ada sekarang kan welfare, kesejahteraan hewan yang menjadi topik yang sekarang orang lebih aware ya tentang itu ya. Mungkin kalau boleh nanya, kan maybe Indonesia kadang-kadang ada orang yang pernah bilang, oh ya, horsemanship masih kurang. There's a lot of horses coming in, tapi orang yang tadi Pak Rafiq mention hands on itu not enough ya. Like, why do you think that is? Like many horses tapi yang hands on is kurang gitu.
Contoh paling gampang adalah sekarang how you train the groom. How you train the groom. The groom is the first
point of
the
contact.
first taking care of the horse the kontak awal. Karena Indonesian style is different. In Europe or in the certain countries, the rider is involved from A to Z.
Yeah.
The riders only submit after the rider.
Yeah.
Di kita rider datang udah tinggal naik kudanya aja, kalau disadelin udah dapat tinggal nemplok. Habis selesai naik udah dikasih lagi. Which is the touch is very little. Cuman kan sekarang how the groom ini can be proper groom. You have to train this one. To train this one you have to educate the experience. Kadang-kadang karena belum terlalu berpengalaman sehingga kuda celaka. Karena belum pengalaman kuda kolik, dia nggak melihat indikasi awal, symptomsnya nggak kebaca, atau jam dia kontrol bukan jam yang pada saat chances horse kolik. Ini semua kan melalui satu welfare of the horse ini kan sedangkan kita dokter-dokter hewan sudah makin banyak.
Iya.
Cuman kan dokter hewan ini dipanggil setelah ada ini, tapi yang
Iya.
orang awalnya tetap di grup ini. Nah, sebelum kuda-kuda masuk ini sebenarnya pelatihan grup ini mungkin ke depan harus ada sertifikasi.
Iya.
Sehingga groom ini, karena kita kadang-kadang bilang, groom kadang-kadang kerja di Eri misalnya, dari situ keluar, dia bilang ke tempat lain, saya udah sekian tahun nih, padahal ini mungkin baru, atau dia dikeluarin, di sana yang tempat lain terima, padahal nah, ini kita bukan jelekin, tapi how to take care our horses in the good hands. Jadi semuanya mesti ada. Kalau karyawan kita keluar, tolong dikasih rekomendasi juga bahwa dia bisa tempat lain bagus apa segala. Kalau kurang bagus ya tinggal dikasih tahu kurang bagus.
Jadi grooms itu juga another section or area in the Indonesian horse yang perlu di-improve sedikit juga ya artinya
kalau
ya.
yang lain kan melalui pendidikannya jelas, kalau groom kan enggak masalahnya.
Benar-benar. Yeah, so that's also something yang harus dimikirkan ya. So maybe tentang yang the horsemanship for riders and horse owners juga. Like I don't know, like mungkin I was a small kid jadi aku ngerti. What's the biggest difference ya dulu yang you say the horse owners yang hands on versus now yang lebih ke grooms yang hands on daripada the horse owners, like why do you think that change, or like what should be changed in the mentality of horse owners and riders now gitu?
Ya memang ini dari edukasi ya, dari edukasi di mana semua klub sekarang dicoba untuk gimana ataupun ada anak baru dari sejak awal itu dibiasakan pasang sadel juga, mandiin kuda, jalanin kuda. Sehingga karena kalau ownernya jalan begitu, groomnya kan ngikutin. Ya lebih dia tahu ini apa take care-nya lebih serius gitu. Ini yang sehingga kita tahu kapan kuda itu ada luka apa segala karena dia kan grazing, kemudian dia kadang cuman duduk sama kudanya aja, which is udah jarang di Indonesia ada yang begini. Itu ini yang harus kita terapin ya artinya.
So it's important for the new stable owners untuk make sure the riders atau the horse owners involve lebih hands on,
lebih hands on lagi pada kudanya. Karena indikasi awal itu semua kan lebih karena kita pemilik, kita pasti lebih care gitu loh.
Benar.
Itu lebih baik.
Benar. So I guess that's something yang important yang harus dimikirkan adalah like sebagai stable owner atau horse owner, what is my horse doing gitu, what is my horse eating, kudanya diurusnya seperti
Saskia
apa.
kan kondemaranya saya lihat, begitu datang mungkin udah bawa treat, udah ini, paling nggak udah lihat bersebut kan dicek kudanya, cek baru habis naik juga dia jalan, kan ini kan satu hal yang memang bonding sama kuda.
And I feel like harus I think the more misalnya even as a rider if we are more involved dengan kudanya on the day-to-day basis, obviously relationship dengan kudanya even better.
The horse know.
And the horse knows. And then you ride better with the horse juga. Jadi it's all linked together ya. Mungkin we can talk a little bit tentang obviously kita lagi ngobrol tentang riders, athletes. Do you think one day hopefully with the horsemanship yang lebih baik dengan semoga NF yang support, Indonesian athletes bisa nggak naik lagi back to the 2009 glory days?
I think sekarang juga udah naik.
Bisa nggak?
Sekarang juga udah naik karena sekarang ada beberapa atlet yang prestasinya baik, even though in Europe. Ya, jadi kita nggak bilang turun, tapi ini naik. Cuman naiknya kita mau arahnya mesti lebih perjelas. Karena sekarang contoh ada Brian yang lagi di Eropa, ada siapa namanya? Ada beberapa saya lihat ya, terus yang punya potensi untuk ke depan ya. Terus sama yang anak-anak mudanya juga, ada Gadis, ada siapa tuh. Ini ada Rifat, ada Dino, ini semua kan sekarang lagi di luar ya. Ini peluangnya sebenarnya jauh lebih baik untuk mereka ini. Nah, tinggal sekarang gimana kita cater mereka ke depan, karena mereka semua ini parents udah put effort loh untuk sana nih. Tinggal kita melihat secara ini. Karena saya pernah melihat satu cabang olahraga di mana saat itu NF ada satu atlet yang tidak terpilih based on satu kriteria. Tapi kita lihat potensi atlet ini punya peluang. Akhirnya apa? Dari NOC saat itu kita ambil atlet ini untuk tetap berangkat ke Jepang. Dan atlet ini pulang bawa silver.
Wow.
Dan tadinya nggak dihitung sama NF. Nah sekarang kita mesti berpikir, dari kita ini berpikir mana sih yang punya peluang. Ini yang harus kita pikir supaya itu. Jadi kalau dilihat chancesnya jauh lebih baik karena lebih banyak yang mengerti sekarang ini.
Okay. So that means definitely we're on the way lah ya. On the way lah ya. And so maybe in your opinion ya, what should young riders in Indonesia keep in mind if they want to dream of pursuing a career in the equestrian sports? Like whether it's a rider or someone working in the industry, like
the challenge in young rider in Indonesia is not that easy because at a certain age you need to study.
Yeah, benar.
Especially when you go study, you pass this start, then you have to go to UK, you have to study, and then you less riding.
Yeah.
Even though you have a chance to ride,
Yeah,
but
it's not a lot.
Not on the professional training properly.
No.
Because that the school provide. Sometimes we join the club. Ini masa yang nggak gampang. Sehingga begitu kita punya atlet, ini hampir di semua cabang olahraga. Kadang-kadang begitu masuk masa dari SMA ke universitas, mereka udah konsentrasi di universitasnya. Nah, berarti sangat sedikit yang bisa ke depan ini.
Iya.
Nah, sangat sedikit juga yang orang tuanya mengizinkan untuk anak tersebut menjadi atlet. Karena how you wanna expect become atlet, kan orang pasti how they think like this.
Yeah.
Tapi sekarang sudah ada yang begitu.
Yeah.
Nah, ini yang harus begitu ada ya kita mesti support untuk bisa ke depan.
Ya, artinya kalau misalnya Pak Raffi ngomong tentang support itu artinya support lewat NF.
Support lewat NF, support lewat komunitas, support macam-macam, support ini. Kita nggak support itu aja, kadang-kadang gini. Contoh, Eri punya media. Media ini di announce, gini loh baik. Tapi ini kan sesuatu udah support bentuknya. Bukan hanya NF, tapi komunitas juga bisa ikut in charge. Contoh sekarang Eri lagi promosi mengenai Asian Youth Game. Mungkin orang belum banyak Asian Youth Game. Kenapa di Bahrain? Dipikir mungkin cuma seperti pertandingan borrow horse pinjem-pinjem gitu mungkin ya. Tapi dia lupa ini adalah multi event. Multi event yang nggak semua ini hampir berapa cabang olahraga main di Bahrain nanti ini. Bukan cuma equestrian.
Of course.
Nah, tapi kan dengan medianya ini sudah dimulai di
basically raising awareness is very important.
Jadi support itu dari macam-macam cara.
Okay. So maybe like going back to the mindset of Indonesian, karena sekarang ada banyak athletes in Indonesia yang have potential lah. Dari Pak Rafiq, what are good values yang these riders harus possess untuk keep on staying like within the horse industry gitu, or keep on being an athlete, or like you last 30 plus years in horse. I mean, obviously you and me, we love horses, we're obsessed. Tapi kayak misalnya yang untuk yang lain yang mungkin mau pursue a career, what are good values yang harus?
Saya melihat untuk atlet ini karirnya bagus, nggak 100% said good, because the only thing is like this, atlet this one is depend on the club, depend on horse owner. So, jadi kita antara klub, horse owner, sama atlet ini satu kesatuan. Jadi atlet ini beda sama atlet di Europe. Kadang-kadang mereka beli kuda, mereka ikut tanding.
Iya, benar.
Tapi di sini kita kadang-kadang the riders itu adalah kadang-kadang rider ini adalah karyawan kita yang mana memang disupport sama horse owner ataupun sama klub.
Iya.
Jadi ini satu kesatuan. Karena kalau kalau ini udah menjadi satu kesatuan, ini bukan maju sekali. Dan sekarang itu memang sudah begitu caranya. Nah, ini yang bisa di Indonesia, bedanya antara kita di sini sama di luar. Kadang-kadang di sini tuh memang kita harus menjadi satu kesatuan, dan inilah kerja nyata untuk kenapa bisa saling support antara horse owner, club sama rider.
Ya benar, it's very important ya saling support. So artinya maybe untuk like the riders atau like misalnya orang-orang yang suka kuda dan mungkin mau kerja dalam bidang kuda, apakah ada harus ada mindset atau apa yang they would need to karena kan I think it's in the world juga is a current problem di mana kita masih kurang orang yang kerja dalam bidang like in the horse industry. It's still not enough people. Like even athlete udah mulai banyak, which is great. Tapi yang the human resources bit kan farriers, vets,
Jadi di semua bidang, dari atlet, dari farrier, dari mana, mileage, you cannot pass the mileage. You have to pass the experience. You have to pass the kalau rider tadinya dari pelatih biasa pindah ke pelatih yang pro, pindah ke experience ini, kemudian dari kuda A, kuda B, kuda C, sehingga dia punya mileage yang jauh lebih baik. Dari official juga dia mesti mengalami beberapa peningkatan dari level 1, level 2, level 3 sampai level 4. Hampir di semua bidang, termasuk di veterinary juga. Nah, ini yang artinya satu proses yang memang harus dilalui kalau itu.
So artinya you need perseverance lah ya.
Ya,
Kalau misalnya
nggak bisa langsung ini. Kalau di luar aja vet nggak bisa pegang kuda owner langsung, begitu dia graduate nggak bisa. You have to get experience certain years, then you can involve with the horse.
So artinya maybe like untuk orang yang mau kerja dalam bidang kuda, you would give them advice untuk apa ya, untuk get as much work experience ya.
Yeah.
Work experience,
Just
spend a lot of
get
time with the horses.
more experience.
Kalau misalnya bisa do a lot of experience, maybe intern, magang,
Ya,
work with horses.
pindah aja dari satu klub ke satu lain, magang, that's a good one, no problem.
Good one ya. Alright, so maybe mungkin if you could share one message with the key stakeholders ya, untuk misalnya untuk government sponsor, federation, stable owners, what Pak Rafiq would like to say something about would you like to say anything about the future of Indonesian equestrian? Like now that it's growing so much, growing so fast, like what would you say to these people, like to continue the legacy? What do they need? It's a big question.
Big question, and actually the answer is so much. But I will take from the Olympic value, excellent, that's mean excellent, respect and friendship. These three is the key of the sport, any sport.
Yeah.
So kita mesti dalam berprestasi mesti baik, kemudian juga kita mesti respect untuk apa, respect sama kudanya, tapi friendship, begitu kita standing, friendship ini bukan cuma sesama manusia, kita friendship sama the horse also, the welfare of the horse. Ini semua satu kesatuan. Nah, ini harus diartikan dalam arti yang luas sekali, kemudian baru kita mengerti, karena kita di kuda, kalau kita nggak di dalam kudanya sulit untuk mengerti.
Benar.
Jadi mungkin saya sih merasa bagus ada Saskia pulang, kemudian in charge di kuda. Di sini apalagi kemarin FEI nominated. Ini satu hal yang menurut saya punya peluang untuk ngajak yang lain untuk bisa how to be more involved with the equestrian sport.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. That's very important ya. Karena kan ya balik lagi the hands-on thing is I feel like very important kalau misalnya you want to work with horses ya. And yeah, mungkin just the last few questions before we're almost done here. You've been in the industry udah lama banget ya, 30 plus years, and you really love the equestrian world. Kalau boleh nanya ya, obviously as someone I'm inspired by you all the time. What makes you motivated every single day to work with horses, or like what makes you so passionate? Karena kan obviously you're very committed to the sport, and obviously growing the sport.
I like the sport from mostly in I compete jet ski, I do the taekwondo, I do the martial art, I do the horse, but I found the sport is that in my passion. Okay, saya melihat kalau bisa equestrian ini maju, it's not for me, it's for young generation, for Indonesia. How you put artinya Indonesia Raya kalau kita sempat lihat Indonesia atau dengar lagu Indonesia Raya di satu event, kamu nangis. Kamu itu achievement yang sangat sangat buat orang sport. Tapi ini nggak mudah dimengerti sama orang-orang awal. Ini how to reach this one. Jadi bukan hanya saya, tapi saya berpikir gimana yang generation besok bisa punya peluang untuk bisa jadi atlet internasional dan bisa bawa nama Indonesia jauh lebih baik. Ini kadang-kadang omongnya gampang, nyatanya susah. Tapi ini sesuatu yang harus kita targetin, karena itu nggak tahu, saya memang senangnya ke sport dan saya punya passion dan saya mau Indonesia jauh lebih baik.
Yeah, you're very patriotic. Super patriotic, yeah. I feel like that means that's what drives you, right? You want to see Indonesian flag on the.
That's why I also support for silat.
Iya, itu banyak ya, pencak silat and all that.
Yeah.
So that means maybe I think your future now, like sekarang kan Pak Rafiq udah established Artayasa, you're doing the competitions, you also support riders juga ya. Sekarang even until now masih
ada
support riders ya, ada beberapa in Artayasa, and then That means now what are you planning to do for your last? I mean, how old are you? 60s,
For
20 years?
Artayasa, we have planned for the athlete one by one train in Europe and come back, and then after come back they teach the other generation to have the continuing the trainer. That's how, because dari rider become trainer, kadang-kadang mereka harus melalui satu jenjang yang mana Europe is one of the best for train in the proper way.
Yeah.
Kadang di Indonesia kita satu grup nangani 3 kuda kelihatannya udah banyak, tapi begitu saya kirim atlet saya, dia baru ngeliat, wah ternyata dengan 20 ekor kuda groomnya cuma 1 atau 2.
Iya, benar.
Which is they don't give up, man. Jadi pengalaman ini nggak bisa dibeli, kecuali dia merasakan, oh ternyata bisa begini.
Ya, emang.
Jadi nyoba-nyoba inilah satu hal yang artinya untuk Artayasa sendiri saya pun masih terus upgrade, karena kita nggak mungkin stop, apalagi untuk Indonesia gitu.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Very inspiring, Pak Rafiq. Do you plan on retiring? No.
No, I think it's supposed to be all the time. Artayasa support for Artayasa ada untuk kita semua. Artayasa ada bukan buat saya, bukan buat keluarga saya, tapi lebih kepada untuk Indonesia. Kenapa? Itu supaya jadi satu tempat di mana semua orang bisa ikut partisipasi di situ.
Yeah. You should. I think I'm pretty sure. I don't think you know this, but I think probably you already affect so many 100 kids to want to work with horses because of what you do in Artayasa, and that's so inspiring. Do you have any last message, final message to the watchers out there in Indonesia or around Southeast Asia untuk tentang kuda atau helping people understand horses? What's your final message to the Indonesian equestrian community?
Well, I don't really have it, but I think the best is when you love horse, keep doing it and never ending, because when you love the horse is no time to finish. Basically never ending. You will keep doing it until last minute.
Yeah. So obviously every day with horses never stops, yeah. I also agree, because I think sejak when I just love horses, it's like obsession. It never stops.
And then you love because you have it in the blood.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I think it's in your blood. Yeah. Kemarin ada juga yang kemarin ada dokter dan he said I will do horses until I die. Yeah.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what makes us different.
Yeah. But kalau kita lihat dari cabang olahraga lain, olahraga ini nggak terbatas pada umur.
Yeah.
Jadi which is good for all age.
Yeah.
This is the one to do it.
Yeah, and then it's also tidak terbatas antara male and female, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Jadi any girl, boy, umur apa aja bisa. You could start horses any age, and they'll just keep on getting better when you get older, like John Whittaker.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And yourself too, you get better also when you're older. Thank you, Pak Rafiq, for coming here today and sharing your journey and all those insights. You're very inspirational, and I mean, you're probably one of the reasons why I work with horses in Indonesia. And aku balik dari Inggris karena I was like, Pak Rafiq is still there, he's working. I gotta go back. Aku juga harus work with horses in Indonesia to make it more sustainable as a sport. Karena aku juga believe in all your values and what you think about the horses, yeah. I guess that ends our episode on Equine Talks this time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and Instagram. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you, guys.